I want to bring in trial attorney and legal analyst Brian Claypool now to understand the legalities of this. Brian, legally speaking, does this end the Delaware investigation?
Hey, Marni, great to be back with you. I pray that this does not end the investigation. I mean, are you kidding me? 5 years of an investigation, 5, and you get these 2 charges? These charges could have been found out in 5 minutes, not 5 years, Marni. I mean, seriously, we recently had a whistleblower report a claim to Congress about the DOJ not following proper protocol in investigating Hunter Biden, number one. And number two, there was a whistleblower report of some DOJ officials committing perjury during the investigation of Hunter Biden. And what happened to that, Marni? Where did that go? Did that vanish? Is that buried underneath this ridiculous charge against Hunter Biden? I mean, this is just a veneer to protect Hunter Biden and potentially President Biden from additional charges.
Well, allegedly, I mean, let me jump in here, Brian, because if the DOJ did not find the evidence, the House Oversight Committee has not provided any evidence into wrongdoing. These are all allegations. Might there not be any evidence?
Marni, it's my opinion that the DOJ has not done an adequate investigation. They have had evidence presented to them that they have refused to investigate. So let's make a distinction. There's a difference between, oh, we've done an investigation and we don't think that the evidence supports any further charges against Hunter Biden. I can live with that. But when you have evidence, for example, there was a witness in the last couple of months that said, I can bring other witnesses over from Ukraine to testify, right? In this case, and the DOJ says, oh no, we don't want to hear from them. That's a vast distinction where where DOJ officials are not investigating facts versus investigating facts and not finding crimes. That's what I have a problem with.
What do you make of the fact, though, and some will say this was a Trump-appointed attorney overseeing the investigation, right? That initially provides transparency, right? That there is no bias here.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all. You can't say because the prosecutor on this case is Republican that justifies the DOJ ignoring evidence. And where's the explanation to taxpayers across the country about what the DOJ did for 5 years? I mean,
and are they required? Are they required to give an explanation, legally speaking, into the evidence they have or did not find?
Absolutely, it's our taxpayer money going into an investigation. What did the DOJ do for the last 5 years, Marni, to come up? I've been on your show a lot of times, and we've seen a lot of complicated cases with a lot of different charges that took a lot of investigation in a lot shorter time. We as taxpayers have a right to know what was done, Marni, in the last 5 years. I'm not saying that the DOJ has got to tell you and I everything about what was unveiled in their investigation, but we have a right to know not only what was done, but what was not done. That's what troubles me the most. Why wasn't something done on the laptop computer? Our DOJ can't be the arbiter of whether that is credible evidence or not. Their job is to investigate evidence and then tell us if that leads to a crime, not to dismiss potential evidence and then come up with these 2 sham charges to try to sell this to the United States that we've done our job. This is really a sad, to me, this is a sad day in U.S. history.
What specifically, Brian, will you be looking for when details of the deal are revealed?
Well, what I'm looking for, it's a great question. The $1 million question is the investigation over? That's the great question you asked at the beginning of the segment. Is this it? I'd like to know that. In other words, if the DOJ is copying a deal with Hunter Biden on these 2 bogus charges, and then they're saying, we are done investigating the laptop, we are done investigating Burisma, we are done investigating CEC, the corrupt Chinese energy company in which Hunter and family members allegedly got millions of dollars. If the DOJ is saying, we are done investigating all of this, then that is a travesty of justice. And in my opinion, that means the DOJ has sold its soul to the devil.
I have not heard that from the DOJ, but we're certainly hearing that from Hunter Biden's camp, that the investigation 5 years in the making is resolved. But you better bet that the House Oversight Committee and Representative James Comer say they will continue to look into this. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.